The postseason of the blowouts. Mainly uncompetitive contests where one side was destroyed by the fifth inning. It was quite anticlimactic. The gods disapproved of such boredom. Like the season, there could be only one conclusion. Chaos. Endless volatility. And the rest of the league is wondering what the hell happened. This wasn't a microcosm of how shit their season was, I don't know what is. Everything that could go wrong did. Hilarious and predictable failure in nearly every aspect of play. Minnesota hadn't won a playoff game in 18 tries, and the Blue Jays paid tribute to such ineptitude by leaving 18 men on base in 2 games. An excellent performance by a talented hitting core, and they were even better on the base paths. It's obvious as to what happened. The organization panicked after 8-1 and overthought every single damn thing. Why else would they force out a dealing Jose Barrios for Yusei Kikuchi in Game 2? In the 4th inning. Because there were 2 lefties coming up in the order? Oh no, it has nothing to do with the front office or the lack of hitting. It's all John Schneider's fault. He's gone rogue, I tell ya. He's a hack! By the way, he's coming back next year. This organization isn't worth my time. What a fucking joke. Before you say anything, I take no responsibility for how badly the Rays played in this series. It wasn't as if they were outright dominated in every facet either. Or that Tampa Bay simply forgot how to play baseball. A strong defensive team like this one committing 4 brutal errors in Game 1, being endlessly fooled by the Texas Rangers' arms, the pitching absolutely falling apart in any given situation. This wasn't just defeat, this was straight up disaster. Buckling under the long catwalks of Tropicana with less than 20,000 people in attendance for Game 1. I don't even blame Rays fans for not showing up. Early afternoon games on a weekday with a team performing like this? They didn't deserve to have anyone show up. So many questions pop up now, mainly involving if what they're doing is sustainable with the rate of attrition they're suffering. But at least you gave the Rangers momentum. This team used all their magic to get to the playoffs in the first place. Once they got there, they turned into plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula. They never thought they'd get this far, so they had no idea what the fuck to do. Miami simply stepped out of the way and let Philly smack them around for a few games. The ice-cold bats were surprisingly ice-cold. And when Bryson Stott hit that grand slam, it was merely icing on the cake. I'm not gonna say they didn't belong here, that's foolish. Blame the Mets, Cardinals, and Padres for shitting the bed all season. Was a good year for the Marlins, all things considered. Nobody expected them to get here, and they proved us all wrong. The obvious response is to cut off their own legs as punishment. Sandy Alcantara's out of commission through 2024. This is obviously all Kim Ng's fault for some reason. They tried to pull a power play maneuver on her and she ran out the door. Did you try to fuck her over? She was doing a good job. Of course, it's the moment where I finally start to change my opinion on the damn Brewers that they simply go back to reinforcing old narratives. I know a lot of people are going to blame this on the Woodruff injury, but that means nothing. Burns and Peralta were both bested by Diamondbacks bats. Their bullpen was bested repeatedly too. Even then, this failure doesn't mostly go to them, but to the hitters. Falling apart in the clutch time and time again. They loaded the bases 4 times in 2 games. They couldn't score a single run on any of them. To be fair, one of those was due to Evan Longoria, but what's the excuse for the rest of them? Voodoo magic? Bad luck? Jinxes? Anything? Like most Brewers playoff scenarios, a golden opportunity was in front of them for a deep run and they just fell apart. Arizona was the better team, and all you can do is add a notch to the cap of failure. And then tip that cap to them on a job well done. I just feel like shit for being fooled by their great September. For every young team, there's a moment of epiphany. You need to get your ass kicked in the postseason to fully understand what needs to be done to take the next step. Baltimore consider this a harsh learning experience. The whole team didn't just lose, they got shanked in a back alley. There were serious concerns about their pitching headed into October, and they were more than validated. Grayson Rodriguez imploded in Game 2. Dean Kramer did the same in Game 3. Team bats were sluggish in September and it continued against the Rangers. Brandon Hyde repeatedly outfoxed and outmanaged in every situation by Bruce Bochy. Domination by a team playing up to potential. This is still a fantastic season, so I won't go super hard on you, but now you have to wonder if the Orioles will finally open the wallets up. They need an ace and an elite reliever at minimum. Don't fuck this up, Angelos. I'm warning you.
We want Houston! We want Houston!
For the last time, no one wants Houston. No one should want any specific opponent. It's a trap that's been fallen into over and over again. They lull you in with a supposedly weak starting rotation and then wham! Death by the long ball. Make that a shitload of long balls. Unfortunately ironic that most of their starting rotation shut your bats down. Your arms couldn't do the same. It wasn't a blowout or an ugly contest, but more of a slow death. Plenty of opportunities to turn the tide, but it just never happened. Thought they had a real shot of doing something this year. What a shame. Well, Minnesota, it's a rough exit, but I'm a man of my word. You fulfilled your end of the bargain. Here's your consolation prize. The curse is lifted, Twins. Well done. I'm not surprised by this outcome whatsoever. Maybe surprised they got swept, but look at how wrecked their rotation was. The best option was a Clayton Kershaw that wasn't anywhere near healthy. He hadn't pitched more than 5 innings since coming off the IL. Why are people surprised he got shelled by every hitter he faced? The rest of the pitching was a mound of playoff Kershaws. The longest a starter lasted for the Dodgers was less than 3 innings. That pitcher gave up 4 homers in an inning. I get that, but can you explain to me where the hell your bats went off to? Mookie? Freddie? Anyone? They made Brandon Pfaadt look like Brandon Webb out there. As much as I love shitting on Dave Roberts, this is nowhere near his fault. You can't make lemonades out of shit. You could have had someone who uses actual logic in his decisions and they still would have been swept. That's how bad it was. Arizona just destroyed them in every conceivable fashion. And the rest of the NL celebrates. Now for the next step. To buy up every pitcher on the market to have at least 3 of them healthy for October. All of the whining and bitching by the Braves fan base has proven one thing. The right team won this series. The Phillies dominated once again, and all some can say is that they need to reseed and the extra rest hurt the team somehow. Problem is that all of it doesn't reveal the real reason why they lost. They shit the bed. Everything fell apart. I'm sorry that I feel a team shouldn't advance if they're hitting around 185. The only player that hit with any form was Austin Riley. Dream lineup, my ass. They only had 1 good starting pitcher all series. And that pitcher doesn't have a quality third pitch in his arsenal. Philly was straight up teeing off of them. And Atlanta went from a grizzled unit to a bunch of bedwetting toddlers in the face of adversity. Oh no, they broke the sanctity of the locker room or some shit. Here's an idea, Orlando. Don't get rattled by random schmucks in the crowd. This is the 2nd year in a row this has happened. And even the players and staff know they fucked up. They failed. Period. Thing is, even if there were reseeding, Arizona probably beats them in a 5-game series. Oh no, you guys. The Astros pooed the bed repeatedly against one of their main rivals. We really feel bad for them. No, really, we do. Houston's main issue throughout the year was being surprisingly sluggish at home. All this talent being sub 500 at Minute Maid? If it were even that, it'd be fine, but it was the exact same scenario as the 2019 World Series. Play like shit at home, rattle off 3 straight wins to put their opponents on the ropes, and then be unable to finish them off in home confines. That iffy starting pitching I was questioning managed to lay repeated eggs. Even in the games the Astros won on the road, it was like watching Martin Maldonado at the plate. If the only ones hitting consistently are Altuve and Yordan, it ain't gonna cut it. Another prime opportunity squandered. And they'll be kicking themselves about this for a while. As the dust settles, Dusty Baker rides off into the sunset one last time. And it's in the most fitting way possible. Choking yet another Game 7. What happened to Bell Go Dong? I was told that Bell would be going dong. It went dong a ton in the first 2 games of the series. Got hit so much that the bell cracked into 1,000 pieces and fell apart. Once they got to Game 3, a harsh lesson was taught. If you live by the long ball, you'll die by it as well. An all-or-nothing team suddenly turned to nothing. Can't just hit solo homers and expect to win much. When runners were in scoring position in the final 5 games, they hit a paltry 5 of 34. An entire platoon of Johan Rojas at the plate. And it was only made worse by the adventures of the bullpen. Most teams that spin the Craig Kimbrell roulette wheel tend to regret it. And his platter of cookies not only gifted Arizona momentum, but perhaps the series. Ambitions totally lost in a game of snakes and ladders. Chances to bury them at home continually botched. And all they're stuck holding is Alec Boehm hitting cleanup. You wanted to shock the world, Philly? That was so 2022.
You blew it! You had it all and you blew it!
It took a bit for the postseason to ratchet up, but once it did, chaos aplenty. The first World Series since 2016 without either the Dodgers or Astros in it. A glorious day indeed. Representing the American League this season, It's been quite a whirlwind for the Rangers, hasn't it? In 24 months, a magnificent turnaround has taken place. To get the full gist of their rise, you must head back to the bottom. 2021 was an awful season for Texas. Years of mediocrity gave way to a hard crash into a wall. A franchise lost in the abyss, chucking out garbage pitching rotations and lineups aplenty. 102 losses on the year meant that things had to change. And over the past few years, there's been mass overhauling. Lineups flipped over. Rotations flipped over. Both their manager and teams are sent packing. But their main reason for change has been an old calling card. If there's one thing the Rangers have been masters at in their history, it's been throwing money at everything that moves. In the 2021 offseason, they opened the vaults. A whopping $500 million invested in big bats and weapons for their arsenal. The next offseason, they added $300 million to that total. A fresh facelift to every aspect of play. Corey Seager, one of the best shortstops in the game, lured to Arlington to become a game changer in their lineup. Marcus Semien, the number 2 in name only. A man whose elite bat and strong glove creates stability at a position of need. Mitch Garver, a fine bat brought in from Minnesota for IKF, filling the role of DH. And a rotation of excellent arms. Nathan Eovaldi, John Gray, Andrew Heaney, and the prize of Jacob deGrom. Scratch Jacob deGrom. Max Scherzer, the heterochromatic legend acquired from the decaying Mets. And Jordan Montgomery, free from the hell of St. Louis to drive them far. It's creating a core out of thin air, but don't believe this team has simply been bought. The farm system is coming clutch. Take backstop Jonah Heim, whose bat has come around to become one of the most well-rounded catchers in the game today. Take Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Jung, their first baseman and hot corner, who are excellent complements to Seager and Semien. And the outfield full of fresh faces like Evan Carter, who's burst onto the scene with fire, a key contributor to their run. Leody Taveras in center field, a defensive wizard who's reliable with the stick as well. And then, Bob, Adolis Garcia, El Bombi, a former waiver castoff who turned into a franchise centerpiece all his own. Endless game-changing home runs in October. God help their opponent. My main concern for the Rangers was in their bullpen. It was a complete mess throughout the season. Surrendered leads aplenty. My thinking was that it would eventually cost them a chance at greatness. However, baseball is a game where you can wash off quickly. The Texas bullpen has become a strength this postseason, shutting down opponents left and right. Except once. But that didn't damage them that much. A group featuring Corey Bradford, Josh Spores, Aroldis Chapman, and closer Jose Leclerc isn't one that looks all that reputable, but they've been strong. It's a surprise to us all. The rotation success isn't surprising, though. Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi have been beasts in their own right. Even with Scherzer not at full strength and John Gray injured, they can ride. It's a good reason why they've been undefeated on the road this postseason. They are a team that hasn't been here since 2016, but they are loaded with October experience. World Series champions and postseason veterans litter the roster. Hell, their manager Bruce Bochy oversaw a fucking dynasty in San Francisco. They've been calm, collected, and are kicking ass all over the place. A chance to finally end an illustrious legacy of failure has presented itself once again. Years of misery culminating in fate itself. The Rangers have made it here before. Best not to talk about that. To erase the pain of the past, there's only one more hurdle to overcome. Well, this is shocking. Very shocking. It's not a bad surprise. I love me some chaos as much as the next man, but their run is rather unprecedented. Like the Rangers, we have to look back to 2021 to reach their darkest hour. Circling the wagons of the mistress known as mediocrity for years, the season went into a tailspin hard. One of the worst stretches of baseball I've ever witnessed in a club. 5-40. Yes, that is a real outcome. Pitchers that couldn't pitch. Hitters that couldn't hit. Ketel Marte completely miscast in center field. GM Mike Hazen forced to step away from the club to be with his wife battling cancer. 110 losses. Pure agony any way you looked at it. It derailed their entire season. And it did force significant change to their roster. Mostly in a purge of older, underperforming units in favor of a youthful rejuvenation. Last year showed promise in August and September. Top prospects being called up in a rotation that was looking mighty intriguing. They rattled off some nice wins in that stretch. I had them as a sleeper team this year, but to see the heights that they've reached, it wasn't something I had envisioned in my wildest dreams. A team dealing with massive tears and skids, limping into the postseason found fire. Looking deeper, the 84 wins on the year are kind of deceiving. When Gabriel Moreno is in the lineup, the Diamondbacks are a legit contender. A savvy buy from Toronto over the offseason, he should secure a role as team catcher for a long time to come. And they added a quality bat in Lourdes Gurriel in the trade as well? That's a bonus. First baseman Christian Walker's been here for the relative long term. And for good reason. His excellent bat is a threat for premium power at every opportunity. Even then, he's merely a complement to the true star of Ketel Marte, back where he belongs at second base. And his bat translates into upper crust abilities as one of the best in the game, carrying the franchise on his back for years. And this is no different. Geraldo Perdomo at shortstop to add an extra dynamic to the offensive attack. And longtime baseball menace Evan Longoria finally getting another chance at a World Series after years of excellence. The outfield, besides Gurriel and the experienced stand-up Tommy Pham as a rental bat, is extremely young. Manning center field, a piece of the future in Corbin Carroll. He's been a true game changer in every facet of play. How many clutch moments has he had this postseason? Too many to count. Speaking of clutch moments, Alec Thomas. He hasn't adapted to the majors like Carroll has, but that homer he had off Kimbrel, biggest hit of the season for Arizona, and a solid piece all his own. The real key for the D-backs this postseason has been in pitching, and it's come in unusual ways. The starting rotation has been a boon, but not by the hand of Zach Gallen, their staff ace. He's been okay, but the real stars have been Merrill Kelly and Brendan Pfaadt. Kelly's at least a legit number 2 in quality innings eater, but Pfaadt's having a breakout moment. A man who struggled to say the least during the season has become more than a third wheel for the Snakes in October. He's become an outright dynamo. Same as that bullpen, a group that was a bunch of random parts and still being assembled deep into August. Kevin Ginkel's the fireman who stymied bats throughout the lineup. Ryan Thompson's revived into quality after being cast off from Tampa Bay. Joe Mantiply is a situational lefty. Andrew Saul Franks played 10 games before this point, yet has played a big role as a lefty specialist. Miguel Castro and Luis Frias is pitching depth. But enough of them, it's Paul Sewell's time to pitch. Seattle randomly sold him at the deadline to the Diamondbacks game, and he's meshed perfectly into the closer's role in the bullpen. Just goes to show you how things can simply click at the right time. Arizona's been a roller coaster all season, but here, they've reached the peak they hit back in June, humiliating opponents that take them lightly, punishing every weakness throughout a roster. The ultimate chaos. Arizona's known for it. Remember 2001? The Yankees were supposed to win for America. Snakes tend not to give a shit about sentimentality. The win totals for both teams may not be that impressive, but the dynamics are more than that. Both teams expected to do nothing and given the ultimate chance. It's what makes baseball great. Refined chaos versus undistilled chaos. Watch it burn. Do you really want a prediction for the World Series? Did you not pay any attention to how the first prediction blew up spectacularly? The teams I picked not only failed to win a game, their opponents reached the World Series. No matter who I choose, I'll have one fan base bitching at me for jinxing and another celebrating a premature championship. You want one? Rangerbacks in 7. Now you don't know which one I jinxed this time. Fuck you!
Ready to fire, 2-2. In the air, out towards right center field. Harris going to go back. Harris back to the warning track. He leaps. Michael's got it! He's got it! They fired it in, and it rolls across the infield. Taken by Riley. He throws to the bag. They double him off. Ball game over. Braves win. I've never seen a play like that.